President Muhammadu Buhari vows to tackle insecurity as Kwara Police Command nabs a suspected murderer. Kwara State Executive Council approved 187.5 billion naira revised 2022 budget appropriation. Transforming literacy learning spaces in focus to mark 2022 International Literacy Day. Plus, update from the world of entertainment and sports. Good evening. This is the Nigerian Television Authority NTA ILORIN NewsTonight. I am Abdul Wahid Bibire. President Muhammadu Buhari has urged Nigerians to believe in the capability of armed forces to safeguard and bring long-lasting peace and stability to the country. Declaring upon the 12th Nigerian Navy Games, the President reassured Nigerians that the armed forces will continue to sustain their operational tempo to contain security challenges in the country. He said the security agencies will continue to ensure that all appropriate measures were in place for the safety of Nigerians. The President also re-emphasized the importance of synergy between the armed forces, other security agencies, and the general population for peace and security. In the meantime, 23-year-old Azan Ibrahim Sabi has been paraded by the Kwara State Police Command for allegedly killing his 90-year-old father in Ilorin, Kwara State capital. The Kwara State Public Relations Officer, Ajayi Okasami, disclosed that the culprit confessed to committing the crime and will be charged to court immediately. Aisha Abubakar Yahaya has the details.
According to the Kwara State Police Public Relations Officer Ajayi Okasami, the command received a report of a missing person on the 5th of August this year by one Aisha Sabi, who came to the command to report that her 90-year-old brother Ibrahim Sabi was missing. Immediately, the command swung into action and discovered that the 90-year-old man's son could not also be found in their house, and this perhaps led to tracing his son and was found and arrested in Kaduna.
He killed his father for the purpose of getting the ATM of the father. And how? The father was collecting his gratuity and pensions every month. So that last month, the old ATM expired. So the son had to take him to the bank to get a new ATM card. On collecting the ATM card, the new ATM card, he took the father on their way back home. The father was complaining of weakness of his body. He said, "Daddy, let me buy you some drugs." He went to a nearby chemist. He bought 2 paracetamol injections. By himself, he injected the father, and the man became weak. And eventually, he strangulated the man, killed him, and took him to an uncompleted building where he dug a shallow grave and buried the father.
Hassan Sabi confessed to the allegations.
I'm the one that gave him injection, and I'm the one that's strangulating that. Then I buried him in the shallow grave for Okolo Road.
The command reiterates its commitment at ensuring Kwara State is free from any kind of crimes and criminalities. Aisha Abubakar Yahaya, NTA News.
The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps recently dissolved all anti-vandalism teams nationwide. The Commandant General Ahmed Audi says was part of the reorganization's efforts of the Corps and a way of redeeming the image of the service. Olajide Bello in this report examines the implication of this action on the safety of the country's national assets.
The dissolution of the Anti-Vandalism Squad of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps has been filtering the media space with allegations of operatives' likely involvement in oil theft and related crimes, as well as sabotage and compromise in the protection of oil installations. This development took me to the command's office in Ilorin to ascertain the rationale behind the action. The image maker of the command, Ayenio Lasukomi, says, contrary to disbandment filtering the air, the unit was dissolved and will soon be reorganized for enhanced discharge of its duties.
The unit was not disbanded because it's part of our core mandate. We are to secure pipelines and other critical national assets and infrastructures. So there was no way the CG would have done that. It was just meant to strategize and to put a unit in the right track.
What will be the fate of the nation's national assets?
So the anti-vandal unit is just meant to take charge of the pipelines. And whereas, of course, for the Corps to have made that decision, of course, provisions have been made.
It was a case of different strokes for different folks among some Nigerians who had divergent views on the matter.
I believe the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, they are doing a lot of protection to our national assets. And dissolving or removing them from maybe guiding those facilities, it will not help the country.
Federal government must have a genuine reason for doing that. Probably those people have crossed the line.
For Muhammad Rabiu, a temporary measure would have been put in place as backup to safeguarding the nation's critical assets.
So before you reconstitute, or even if you are bringing new people to take care of those things, before these people will master those areas, a lot of havoc will have been committed.
The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps are calling on all good Nigerians to also guard the country's assets jealously, reiterating the command's unwavering commitment to safeguarding the nation's critical assets. Olajide Bello, NTA News.
Recently, statistics by the United Nations Education and Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, reveals that over 775 million adults globally struggle to achieve basic literacy, with 2/3 of this figure being women. It is against this backdrop that a day is set aside as International Literacy Day to raise awareness on the value of literacy and to encourage children as well as adults to develop skills. Aisha Abubakar examines the theme for this year's International Literacy Day as the world marks the day.
UNESCO recently reveals that in the aftermath of COVID-19 pandemic, nearly 24 million learners might have never returned to formal education, out of which 11 million are projected to be girls and young women. To ensure that no one is left behind, there is need to enrich and transform the existing learning spaces through an integrated approach and enable literacy learning in the perspective of lifelong learning. This perhaps gives the reason for the theme of this year's International Literacy Day celebration, which is transforming literacy learning spaces, aimed at focusing on thinking about how important literacy learning spaces are for building resilience, as well as making sure that everyone gets a quality, fair and inclusive education.
Nigeria has really moved, because at least you can see that there's hardly any society where we will not see somebody there who has that ability and is able to transmit it. But one thing is that to what extent has literacy transformed the society? Because no nation can be great without a high level of literacy.
Parents also need to see the reason why they need to be enlightened, educated, and and do all other components that have to do with education. If we don't do that, then we may continue to experience what we are experiencing.
Consequently, the federal government also noted that 31% of Nigerians are illiterate, and this perhaps is giving a serious concern to the government. And as such, more needs to be done to encourage literacy among youths.
We need to encourage ourselves in the area of information literacy to avoid fake information, in the area of digital literacy, so that we can help boost whatever it is that we are doing, compliance with what technology has given to us to ensure that we are in line with the world today.
As the world marks International Literacy Day, it is important to note that establishment of e-libraries, renovation of school structures, as well as private tutorials for the younger generations would definitely make an impact to make the world conscious of the importance of literacy across the globe. Aisha Abubakar Yahaya, NTA News.
Kwara State Executive Council has approved their presentation of about 187.5 billion naira revised budget to the House of Assembly, with emphasis on the ongoing capital projects and consistent payment of the new minimum wage across board. The Council approved, according to a statement signed by the State Commissioner for Communications, Bodeto Oju, follows a presentation of the estimate and performance of the approved budget by Commissioner of Finance, Florence Olasumbo Oyeyemi, about 52.34% of the revised budget will go for recurrent expenditure, while capital expenditure will go up the remaining 47.66%. The commissioner added that the recurrent expenditure peaked partially to accommodate rise in personnel costs, such as full implementation of the minimum wage in the mainstream civil service, agencies, and parastatals of the state government, colleges of education, as well as other overhead items. The proposed revised estimate, which represents a shortfall of about 2 billion naira from the approved 2022 budget of 189.6 billion naira, is expected to be submitted to the House of Assembly soon. And now, entertainment. Afrobeat superstar Rema has released the visuals for the remix of his hit single, Calm Down, which features American pop star Selena Gomez. Rachel Olaitan has details of these and other interesting stories from the world of entertainment.
Rema's Calm Down, which received a deserved international remixing featuring Selena Gomez, is one of the biggest Afrobeat singles of 2022. The visual sees the two music stars enjoying themselves in a colorful environment while delivering the catchy lines that makes Calm Down a special song. Meanwhile, Inside Life, a non-fictional film directed by Tope Adebayo Salami, is set for a theatrical debut on the 9th of September. The star-studded movie follows a young man, Larry, who plots a means of getting out of prison in time to get married, as he was arrested and remanded few days to his wedding. In another development, fast-rising Nigerian singer Joseph Akinfenwa Dunus, better known as Joe Boy, recently took to his social media platform to celebrate the recognition certification plaque he got from Grammys for his participatory work on the album titled Music is the Weapon. The album was nominated for Best Dance Electronic Music at the 64th Grammys Award. Rachel Olayeton, NTA News.
We now link up with David Tuta for updates in the world of sports.
Toby Amuson, who is fresh from her weekend's triumph in Berlin, would join world's greatest athletes to aim for diamond trophies and top $30,000 prizes, as well as wild card entries to the World Athletics Championship Budapest 23, with 6 Diamond League champions expected to be crowned. In another development, Chelsea have appointed Graham Potter as their new manager, following the sacking of Thomas Tuchel. Potter has left fellow Premier League club Brighton and Hove Albion to take up the role and has signed a 5-year deal with the Blues. Potter's first game in charge will be an away derby with fellow West London club Fulham on Saturday. Meanwhile, Napoli claimed a stunning 4-1 win over last season's beaten finalist Liverpool in their opening Champions League group game on Wednesday. Liverpool's Luis Diaz scored a consolation goal for Liverpool at the 49th minute. Super Eagles striker Thierry Murphy has continued with his impressive performance in the French Ligue 1 as he scored for Lorient in their 3-1 win over Lyon on Wednesday night. Thierry Murphy is currently on fire as the Nigerian has now scored 5 goals for Lorient this season after 6 games. David Tuta, NTA News.
Tomorrow weather forecast wraps it up on NTA ILORIN News Tonight. Thanks for watching. Good night.